We gon' make some moves tonight, yeah, stand up. Got something to prove tonight, so stand up. We ain't gonna plan tonight, we gonna take action on our dreams and fight, alright. We ain't gonna stall, never stop. We gon' make it all till the top. We ain't gonna plan tonight, we gonna take action on our dreams and fight, alright.
Hey folks, happy Thursday. Hope you guys are doing awesome out there. My name is Scott Schertzen. Alongside me is, as always the case, Mr. Bill Akins, and this is Soccer Sports Writers React. You can see the title's been changed properly in this case here. We have a myriad of things that we're going to be talking about today. MLS transfer and basically whether or not certain players like Hugo Kuipers and Cristo Fernández would be on their way out and back to Europe. Find out a little bit about that. We got some World Cup talk. We got the question about whether or not basically Arsenal can, in fact, end their drought. And, well, frankly, a whole myriad of stuff on this one. So, sir, how are you doing? Right off.
I'm doing good, Scott. How are you, buddy?
Doing okay. Let's start this right out of the gate. This is one of those things that you reminded me this happened. So we're going to talk about this.
Yeah.
El Paso football is life.
Yeah.
Danny Rojas, a.k.a. Cristo Fernández, has joined the El Paso Locomotive team in the USL.
Yeah.
This came down recently, yesterday, in fact. Shaved some waves in this thing and, made it actually kind of an interesting thing. But my question is, while he does have the talent and did play professional soccer, football, depending on how you look at it.
Yeah.
The question is he also a possible distraction?
I don't know. I mean, he's a legitimate soccer player. I mean, he, I know, he had a knee injury, which, paused his initial youth career. But I don't know. We're going to see what happens with that. I mean, he's, he was in the academies in Mexico, including Tecos FC. And then, he had that knee injury and he shifted to acting. But he had a 2-month trial, from what I understand. And they said he passed with flying colors in the 2-month trial, from what I heard.
Nice.
They said, he's still got it. So he was able to get a pro contract. Which is awesome. I mean, I know he was happy with his acting career, but I know in some interviews that I watched, he said, I would like to play again professionally someday. And here it is.
Nice.
So.
And in a case like this, obviously it's huge PR for, El Paso Locomotive.
Oh yeah. Yeah.
I mean, they were arguably already one of the bigger, more recognized names in the USL to begin with.
Yep.
But on this part, to get someone who did 3 seasons of Ted Lasso, had a solid career outside of that as well, and has kind of made a name for himself in the soccer acting world.
Right.
I think that, like I said, from a Locomotive standpoint, this is a PR boon. To be able to land somebody basically that has his clout, has his credibility, and has, honestly, that smile.
Right.
I mean, he's got the charisma, he's got the attitude, he's got the persona. And it's something where it's, like I said, and I'm curious to see how this ends up affecting the rest of the team. Like Ruben, for example, who's I think already got like 7 goals in the season or something like that. Will it affect the chemistry? Will it be something where he, can play up to the expectation on something like this? Or is it more of a PR move that might actually hurt the team?
I mean, that's a very good question. I don't know. I mean, that's I would think that, I mean, I don't know. I would think that was kind of for the 2-month trial. They wanted us to kind of feel this thing out first. And obviously, they were happy with the way he played on the pitch on the 2-month trial. And they gave him a contract. I think he was probably, they probably had him around the team and just kind of wanted to feel him out and see what, if this was kind of like something that he was actually serious about, or just something that he kind of, had a, just maybe just rekindling that old, I'm just scrolling through the Riverhounds schedule.
Okay.
And unfortunately, they do not play them.
They don't play El Paso. Okay. At all this season, or do they?
Yeah, they do. They play them in away though.
Okay.
So,
all right.
In August 26th to be exact. So, but Yeah, I mean, yes, and I think it's good. I think it's a good thing to see him, actually come back and put his acting career aside and actually come back. I think it's going to probably, he gets that first goal, Scott. I'm sure people are going to be, you know what I mean? People are going to be like, it's probably going to make, Sports Center. You know what I'm saying?
Sure.
I think it's going to, and I think I think it really has the potential to bring good PR to El Paso. They're like
And
you said, they're already kind of a staple in the USL as it is. So
sure. Not to mention, ironically, I think a little bit of an assistance to Ted Lasso season 4. Now, I'll be honest, I don't know if he's in season 4 or not because I know it's shifting to the women's team that
yeah,
Ted Lasso is teaching, or coaching.
right,
But in this case here, the very fact that, like I said, in this case, Danny Rojas actor, Ted Lasso actor,
yeah,
is is basically playing for this team right now. It
yeah,
reminds me a little bit. I think most people forget this, but when Andrew Shue, Elizabeth Shue's brother, played 2 seasons for, I think it was at LA Galaxy
yeah,
back in like
yep,
05, like at the same time he was on like Melrose Place.
right, yeah, yeah. I mean, hey, like I said, Cristo's he's a legitimate guy. He's a legitimate
Mhm.
soccer player.
Yeah.
Um,
But
like I
yeah,
said,
I got to wonder also if the team's going to try and have to protect him a little bit from injury.
yeah. I mean, I don't know what the knee it didn't. I don't. They never specified what the knee injury was. I don't know if it was a torn ACL or
Ugh.
MCL or what it was. I know he had it was at age 15
Mhm.
that he had, and it paused his you know his initial youth career. But you know, like I said, he was he was on a 2-month trial, and he trained with them, and obviously they said, hey, this guy can still play. Let's sign him.
Sure.
So
So perfect. Yeah. No, in this case, I'm curious to see, like I said, how that plays out. Um, you're obviously closer tied to the USL than I am, but I think just through the Twitter grapevine, I'm going to be seeing some stuff on this and seeing what ends up happening. Now, by the way, I
I-
should mention also, I did reach out to the PR team for El Paso.
yeah,
Talk about player interviews specifically with Ruben, though, not necessarily with Cristo.
yeah.
I mean, if Cristo Fernandez wants to, talk, I will have no
Boy, that
problem
would
with
be
it
great.
whatsoever.
That would be
But I
awesome.
mean, it's funny. It's not our first interaction with him.
Yeah.
Davion did some red carpet stuff with, it was like Trevor Noah, and I think Tom Cruise had something, and Cristo Fernandez happened to be there. And he got a picture.
Yeah.
I tried to
Nice.
look for it before, I couldn't find it. But it's not our first technical run-in with Cristo Fernandez. So,
Nice. Awesome.
but yeah, let's see what happens. And like I said, try and protect the kid as much as possible. So,
Yeah, I'm excited to see like I said, I think it's going to be crazy. He gets that first goal. I
oh
think you're
sure,
going to see that's going to make Sports Center, and it's going to be a pretty awesome thing. It's he's coming in. We're about what, quarter of the way, a little over a
Mhm.
quarter of the way. What, March, April? Yeah, about a quarter of the way the season is behind them. So see what he can do.
Yeah. I mean, he'll get some minutes probably, towards the end of a match, just to basically get the pictures going and all this kind of stuff. But
Yeah.
also because he's probably not ready for a full 90. You got to build up to that regardless. So
No, I mean there's a difference between being in shape and being in match shape.
sure.
And that really is, some sports it doesn't take too long to get acclimated. But in football and soccer, it does. I think
Yeah.
it takes, if you're part of the starting, 11, and you're cranking out, 66, because I mean some guys play the whole match, some guys are usually around that 66 mark, mid 60-minute mark is when they start to do when they start to sub people out. But
Yep.
I mean, I agree. He's probably going to get some late minutes. You'll probably see him come in like in the 70th minute, or at like the mid 60 mark, and just see where he's at. Because, like I said, it's being in shape and being actually in match shape are two different things.
100%. Yeah.
So,
So it'll be
I mean,
interesting.
you can be a marathon runner, and you can be a soccer player that runs marathons, and if you're not out there in the pitch, if you've missed time out there, I mean, it's been years for him.
Mhm.
Um, it's going to take a while to get acclimated.
Well, like I said, it'll be interesting to see what ends up happening. I'm rooting for him, El Paso in this case here, because it's a good story all the way around.
Oh, it is. I just wish he was coming to FNB Stadium, because, man, I would talk to our media guy and say, hey, we want to do an interview with him.
Sure,
for sure. But unfortunately, like I said, they're at El Paso in late August. So
yeah, it's similar to when I had when Lionel Messi signed with Inter Miami. All of us checked the schedule, and for NYCFC, it didn't actually happen until like the end of the next year.
Yeah,
coincidentally, right at my birthday too, which I thought was kind of nice. But yeah, no, we all looked at like, when is Messi coming to New York?
Right.
So in this case here, yeah, when is Danny Rojas coming to Pittsburgh?
Yeah.
All right, so I don't know if you heard about this. This one makes me happy in some regards. However, I think they had a little bit of a near miss. The Chicago Fire have a new name for their stadium. Now, the opportunity should have been Firehouse Subs, I think, because of the Chicago Fire, but it's going to be McDonald's Park. Apparently, if my understanding is correct, McDonald's kind of started in the Illinois area, so they wanted to go with the naming rights. Not the worst name overall. I'm personally happy about the fact that it is not, in fact, a bank or an insurance company. But again, if it was Firehouse Subs with the Chicago Fire, that would have been great. But
that would have been awesome.
But it could have been worse. Thoughts?
I mean, hey, if it's going to pay the bills, whatever. I know, where the Riverhounds play, it was Highmark, and now it's FNB.
Yeah.
And I asked the last match, last home match, I said, oh, FNB. I said,
FNB.
Yeah, that's First National Bank. I said, does that have something to do with the new stadium project? He says, yep, that's who carries the loan. I said,
okay.
Oh, okay. I said, yeah, that makes sense.
Well, it could have been worse. I mean, when the Pittsburgh Steelers went from Heinz Field to Gayha Park or something? Was it Gayha Stadium?
Oh, no, Acrisure.
Acrisure. Okay, somebody had Gayha. Yeah, I forget what it was.
Oh, that's Arrowhead.
Arrowhead, sorry, you're right.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, Heinz Field was a staple in Pittsburgh for years.
Yeah.
And then at Acrisure, and a lot of us were just like, oh no.
Well, that was that went to the highest bidder. The contract was up, and Heinz got outbidded by them. So,
well, it's been 3 years for that, 4 years for that now.
Yeah, and I always say I Acrisure as hell. I'm not calling it that.
Fair. But by the way, congratulations! Apparently, Aaron Rodgers is coming back again over there.
Yeah,
as the rumors persist.
No, boy, I'm tired of talking about that. I can tell you that.
Fair enough. But props to the Chicago Fire, because playing.
Yeah, I mean, McDonald's
was terrible to watch that.
McDonald's probably outbid Firehouse Subs, I'm guessing. Probably a little bit more. Definitely a little bit more. Income than what Firehouse. It would have been cool though. It would have been cool to have the Firehouse Subs. That would have been Firehouse Subs Park. That would have been awesome.
That would have been nice, yeah. But like I said,
they could have done. I'm just happy. Could have had like a. They could have had like an old fire. They could have had like a fire truck, like they have the pirate ship down at the down in Tampa at where the Buccaneers play. They could have had like a fire truck. That'd have been cool.
And also in this case as well, not to mention the fact that Dick Wolf has like Chicago Fire, the show over there, and I think there's a couple of the Chicago PD, I think, or a few of them, but Chicago Fire specifically. Yeah,
you could have had a fire truck. You could have had the Dalmatian, pissing on the tires or something. I don't know. So.
By the way, do you know McDonald's has not actually used the Ronald McDonald character in a commercial in like 12 years?
Yeah, I have no. Yeah, I wonder why that is.
Because they tried to go more straight laced, I guess. They took away all the fun and all the stuff we had when we were kids, like the ball pit and the all the toys and everything, and just like in, out, go.
Maybe people have clown phobias, I guess too. That could.
Japan still has Ronald McDonald, although over there it's called Donald McDonald. But but to this day they still have Donald McDonald over there in Japan. It's really kind of funny. Played by
I
a
mean,
woman.
I'm glad that Chicago Fire actually have their own state. I mean, they were playing in Soldier Field for how
Finally.
long?
Oh my God.
Yeah. I mean, they needed their own stadium. I know Chicago cop. He was telling me about that. He's like, yeah, I guess they needed. They've been around for so long, and now they're actually starting to play pretty darn good soccer.
Yes.
So it's nice to see. Yeah, it's nice to see them have their own place other than
Yeah.
playing in Soldier Field.
And like I said, you had that giant C for Chicago in the middle, although the Bears are apparently moving to Indiana, so Chicago's losing everything that way.
Yeah. Well,
That burns my soul. But
I know.
anyway, speaking of moving, Gotham FC. I'm not sure if you heard about this one, but this move does make a lot of sense. But apparently, rumor has it that Gotham FC is going to be moving over to Etihad Park once available, and leaving Sports Illustrated Stadium. Now, I think personally this is a really smart move.
Yeah.
And speaking as someone from Jersey, in this case, I'm totally behind it.
Right. I've been past that Sports Illustrated field. Yeah, I mean it's not. It's kind of out in the middle of nowhere, right? I mean, I remember going by there. There wasn't a lot of. There wasn't too much. I mean, it's right off the interstate there, but there wasn't a lot of. There wasn't a lot of stuff around there.
Yeah, the problem with Harrison, and I'm expected to probably be there this Saturday too, is the fact that public transit from the PATH station is available, but the problem is it's at least a half a mile walk.
Okay.
The parking garage that we usually end up using is on 853 South 3rd. That is a 3/4 of a mile walk to get to the stadium, and for me, an additional 1/4 of a mile past that to get to the press area. So when I was there a few weeks ago for the U.S. Open match, it was raining, and you had to hoof a full mile in the rain, and late at night too was part of it, and it sucked.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, it makes sense. Queens is, been to Queens.
Mm-hmm.
Actually, my brother-in-law lived in Queens for a while, and but it's a better centralized area,
Yeah,
where they're going to be at, and
in this case, this way for them, they can fully embrace the New York and diss the New Jersey, as is often the case on my state, by the way.
Yeah.
Where it's like you live, you work in New Jersey, but it's like, no, we're really New York. BS, full friggin' shit. At least throw some love here, man. Come on.
Now, of course, I've watched Gotham FC, on TV numerous times. But overall, how is Sports Illustrated? How is it? I mean, it's
the stadium itself is gorgeous. I mean, let me back this up. From a fan perspective, it is really, really nice. And Red Bulls put on a nice show, nice red show in this case here, and I'm looking forward to maybe seeing it this weekend.
Yeah,
the press area is they destroyed it for us. Because what it used to be is they used to have us like right at the middle of the pitch, like 30 feet back. And if you weren't careful, a soccer ball would literally hit your laptop and destroy it. You were that close, and it would happen where you'd watch a soccer ball just kind of come up and curve and just go right just past you. And it was always very deceptive. Like, if a goalkeeper just like booted the ball in the stance, you had to be careful because it would curve. And you just watch it like take out stuff to your right. And it's like, oh shit. But then if for whatever reason they decided to move us to like the way top right corner, basically way up in the bleachers, in this weird metal section, top row kind of thing. And they use those seats for the executive ones, for the people they're trying to bring in from New York City to try and close deals. Because obviously Red Bull is a massive, massive friend, massive, massive company. So it became the executive suite that so many stadiums are doing nowadays. And it loses a little bit of the magic because it's empty. Saturday night should probably be pretty decent, but probably pretty empty down there.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
Interesting. I mean, there's actually been people that have had their laptops destroyed. Like, wow.
You are literally that close.
That reminds me of a different sport, but that reminds me, what was the guy that just passed away, John? He just passed away. He was 89 years old, but he was what was he, a color for the Mets? Or was it, I don't remember.
Oh, John Sterling, the Yankees.
Yeah, Yankees, John Sterling, yeah. And I remember a few years back, he was calling a game and he said, "Oh, fly ball," and the thing come in and bounced off and hit him. Yeah, he goes, "I actually got hit by the ball."
Well,
That
that's the other
reminds me of
side of it.
that.
You got to be careful at Yankee Stadium that way. I don't know
Yeah.
why that thing is open. I really don't.
Yeah. So
But yeah, the way
yeah,
it
I
was
mean, like,
there.
yeah. Like I said,
Yeah,
I've been past Sports Illustrated, but have been past there, and it was funny when it first was driving up there. I said, "Oh, there it is. There it is." Okay,
yeah.
because I kind of
But
wondered where it was, and I'm like, "Oh, it's right there."
but yeah, Gotham FC. I mean, I like the idea. Hey, Duff, here I'll move myself. So basically, I'm blocking part of my own head, not yours. But yeah, like I said, the fact that Gotham is going to Etihad, or at least in talks, which I think talks means probably going to happen, I think is the right call for them overall, because it's a better stadium. Frankly, it's easier to get to, and Red Bull Arena it's a nice stadium, but it's a bear to get to, man. Unless you park on site, and sometimes if you park on site, it's great. And I've gotten that before for U.S. Men's National when they were there. But otherwise, you park, like I said, 3/4 of a mile away, and you hoof, rain or shine, doesn't matter. And yeah, your legs will get to work out back and forth on that one. So props to Gotham if it ends up happening. Sir, any thoughts?
Me or
Yeah.
or
Yeah,
me?
you.
Yeah, I saw this, and I think with the new stadium that NYCFC we're gonna build, that there was always a talks of a women's team joining NYCFC in the new stadium. Whether that was Gotham or did form a brand new club under a different name, we didn't know, but
Mhm.
I think having a women's team was always on the cards for New York City FC at their new stadium. So, I mean, I don't mind it. Me personally, it's built for soccer, so it's getting more use out of its intended purpose, which is what we all want. So,
True.
and I know that they sold 16,000 tickets to the City Field game,
Mhm.
and which is great. Unfortunately, it's a midweek game, so not too many people will kind of be keen to be going to it if it was on a Saturday or a Sunday. But I mean, it's in the middle of the summer, so I know a couple people that are gonna be making the trip out to City Field to check it out, and who knows? I mean, ever since they announced it, I was tempted to kind of go to the game. I've never been to a women's professional sporting event, so I wouldn't mind going down there and checking it out.
Yeah, it's not bad. I mean, we've covered Gotham FC on this side of the fence, but again, at Red Bull Arena / Sports Illustrated Field, and I will tell you that stadium was empty, man.
Yeah.
I mean, they had fans literally in like the hundreds, and it was a weekend game too. Me and Pavlik were just looking around at this and thinking to ourselves, "Where is everybody, man?"
Well, they said on the broadcast it's packed.
Well, it is. It's packed with air. However you define it. But no, it was empty as crap.
Yeah.
It felt like basically when NYCFC would play at RBA.
Yeah.
And that was kind of the thing of this case. But
or a Red Bulls Open Cup game or midweek game.
Yeah, that was pretty empty there too. It'd be interesting to see you this weekend. But yeah, I went to that one a few weeks ago, and that was fairly empty. This weekend will definitely be more crowded.
Yeah,
The
100%.
weather's supposed to be good too, but
Yeah, and the weather's only getting warmer. So
Thank
finally,
God.
it's middle of May, and it's finally getting warmer just now. So, I think a lot of people will pop out, but I think it's mostly NYCFC supporters that are going to be making the trip out there.
yeah, I think it'll be, like I said, it's going to be interesting on that one. But yeah, I'll record what I can if I can. So, okay. Who wants to talk some World Cup oddities? This is the one I want to start with. Okay. Now, Bill, you're not from this area, so you don't maybe understand it as much as like me and Davi would. But there has been a proposal right now that has been finalized that for $20 round trip from New York to MetLife Stadium, which, by the way, is not a bad deal when you think about it on a U.S. level. International, they're like, why do you pay for it? The catch is that you will be riding a yellow school bus to MetLife Stadium from New York City. Now, go ahead, please.
Do you get a Capri Sun and a Lunchables as well?
I was just wondering, do you actually get seatbelts and that whole thing where basically, the terrible suspension that we had in in school and the breaks that barely worked and all the things that we had there?
And
Are they going to get the real like school experience here?
and then the bus drivers that in between picking up the kids are burning heaters. Yeah.
I was about to say, do they have like the colored seatbelts, or one's maroon, one's black, and one's silver?
I don't know. I mean, listen, I came from an era where school buses didn't even have seatbelts. You were just like, oh, did you hit your head? Well, whoops, deal with it.
Yeah, ice pack.
Yeah. But like I said, the fact that they're doing this, the rest of the world is like, okay, we don't understand what a school bus is, but it's a bus, so we don't care. But the last time I saw this, the Hoboken International Film Festival moved to Greenwood Lake in a pure like money move. And parking was a Little League baseball field, by the way, covered in mud. Imagine that when you have a tuxedo on or $1,000 dress. And they shuttled everybody in on school buses, and they made them walk a quarter of a mile. This is what this reminds me of. Watching all those people in like $3,000 dresses and spending 5 hours getting themselves into hair and makeup and looking prim and proper and riding a school bus to a film festival.
It's like what you spend like $1,000 in shoes and they get ruined on mud
and heels and everything. They had to walk in the heels.
Walking heels like half a mile. It's terrible.
Yeah. Marty Cove didn't have that. Tony Todd, Tia Carrere, they gave her a ride. But all the people who are dressed up like her, nah, walk it, man.
So $20 round trip,
which is not bad for U.S. standards.
Considering they wanted to charge $200, I'll fucking take this every day of the week.
Yeah.
Give
me a Capri Sun and a Lunchables, and I'm in.
There you go. Yeah. Maybe can we get some dinosaur chicken nuggets? Maybe too.
just give me a ham and cheese sandwich, and I'm in.
I mentored an autistic kid the other day, and he had chicken nuggets, dinosaur chicken nuggets and fries. I'm like, damn, I got to go buy some now. He's eating better than I do.
He's eating good.
Dude, really?
Yeah.
All right. So simple one in this case here. The talk of the next World Cup will feature possibly 64 teams. Oversaturation or good money?
Infantino out. That's all you got to say. Infantino out.
President for life. Presidente for life.
Not even Sepp Blatter had the balls to make it this much, and he still somewhat kept the integrity of the World Cup, and he's a corrupt bastard as well. So
I don't know, man. I mean, 64.
That's oversaturation. I like it,
but I really hate it too. Bill, sorry.
No, it's in my book. That's oversaturation. I mean, it's too much.
No.
I mean, even with 48, you're kind of towing the line there.
Yeah.
Right.
But
I agree. I mean, it's 64s. That's overkill. That's too much.
Do you guys want to see that World Cup album is nearly like 1,000 stickers to collect?
Dude, really?
Yeah.
Do you think maybe some of this had to do with the fact that Italy didn't make it in?
Potentially. I mean, there's they're probably butthurt and they probably have a little bit more clout with FIFA than some other countries. Yeah, they might be bitching about it. Yeah, and they're like, okay, hey, we'll go to 64 then.
But I mean, even if Italy qualified, I still think this would have been on the table anyway.
Yeah,
but it further solidifies it because again, in this case, they're looking at the money aspect of the TV ratings, especially the ad revenue.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, they're by adding 64 teams. I mean, there's got to be some sort of money making thing behind it. And it's going to be more commercials too.
Yep.
Yeah, well, that's not good.
Well, I played that video the other day of like the Mexican friendly, where it had an ad of like 20 or 30 seconds. It was terrible. Ads during the middle of the match.
Right, and I mean, then they shrink the screen, and I can see why people were pissed off. I mean,
sure,
that's ridiculous.
Do you think they're going to do that here
for the 64 or the one?
No, for 2026 World Cup. The whole issue that they had with the ad revenue and shrinking the screen and doing a split screen where you have the ad.
It's America, of course they're going to do
it. Yeah, and that might have been a trial run to see how pissed off people would get, and
and they were, and that was Mexico. That wasn't even the U.S. where we're used to commercials.
I know, which is worse.
Statistically speaking, the United States has more commercials per hour than every other country in the world.
It's terrible.
I mean, I get it. You got to pay the bills, but it's you know.
Commercials.
I mean, you literally get people every year that watch the Super Bowl only for the commercials.
Yeah,
They don't even care about the game; they just want to watch the commercials.
I know. When I watched the Giants game in the Super Bowl 42 when they beat the undefeated Patriots, I ended up getting roped into a party where people were like, "I thought the Giants were the blue team." I'm like, "God damn it!"
They are the blue team. They're just wearing white. They are the blue team. They're just wearing white.
They were, but the fact that they knew so little about like football that they thought the Giants were.
Couldn't they tell by the helmets?
But I was like, one town over was a bunch of guys who were drinking beer and knew the sport and knew basically you don't do an inside tackle run on 3rd and 14 unless you're giving up. But in this case, by the end of the game, nobody's even watched. They missed the Plaxico catch, and I'm like, oh my god, why am I here? Oh wait, I remember why. Because the person I was with insisted I go.
That would make me furious.
Oh yeah. But granted, 4 years later with the Giants, I was the next Giants game. I was able to be where I needed to be. With people who understood the sport. But oh my god,
I hope we could be there together for the next one.
Yeah, well,
we have a long way to go, but
Giants will make the Super Bowl, but at least make it interesting.
Yeah.
So, all right. So moving on to the next thing. I got 2 more things on the World Cup, by the way. So this is something that's pissing off a lot of people right now too. The announcement has been made by several host cities, including Philadelphia and also Kansas City and a few others, that a mandatory 20% gratuity is being added to every dinner order at every restaurant automatically on the top. Now it's officially being done to promote the staff on this, but as you can imagine, when it comes to countries around the world where tipping is not a thing, A, they're looking at it with confusion, and B, they're looking at it with basically a massive feeling of objection.
Now, is this like everybody, even like if you're a local and you want to go there, and they're going to add another 20%?
They're going to tack it on to anybody that's in the vicinity, yeah. So if you're in Philly or KC and you decide to go to a restaurant for whatever reason, like a sports bar, and you want to watch in the World Cup, a lot of the places are automatically bumping the bill up by 20% on you.
That's bullshit.
And then they're still going to want to tip. Yeah, and this is why people get pissed off with this. It's coming, like, this is going to be a rich man's event is what it comes down to. The common soccer fan that is maybe like a normal person. What do I want to say, like mid-level income can't go to this because of stuff like this.
Yeah. But in this case,
and I get it. They want to try to make as much money as they can because it's you don't know when you're going to have this, in the U.S. again. What was the last time? 94. I mean,
took them 30 years to get another one.
Yeah. So,
but for a lot of us, they're gonna raise the rates on our side too. So even I gotta wonder, even if a place like Aldi's gonna raise rates. I mean, Robin and I will stay the hell away from every restaurant possible.
Right.
But the tipping culture has been a major complaint here versus the rest of the world.
Just pay them a normal wage. I don't get it. Just pay them a normal wage.
But, well, see, I posted it on TikTok earlier today, and a lot of the comments were like, don't like the management and owners like skim the tips off the top anyway. I was like, yeah, I kind of do.
Yeah, and that's the other question I would want to know is, hey, is this actually going to, the servers, or is this going to, if it's a chain, is this going to corporate? What is this? What's Yeah. Yeah, it's ridiculous.
I mean, I would imagine it's only local businesses that, kind of capitalizing on the fact that the World Cup is here and that they're going to have a increase in people coming to their business. But I mean, again, this is kind of why people don't really like to support local businesses, because they can get away with stuff like this, and it's not like a chain restaurant or anything like that where it has to go through corporate and they have to approve of all the changes, and even they can get the same thing for cheaper.
Robin and I about a year ago went to Friendly's on Route 46. Just the two of us. Friendly's, burger, drinks, dessert kind of thing. Came out to $80.
What'd you guys get? Just like a normal meal?
Yeah, burger, soda. Got a dessert, probably like a sundae each or something. Nothing extraordinary. But yeah, it came out to $80.
I would like to ask one of these restaurants, like, okay, are you concerned that you're going to have a lot of like foreigners that aren't used to tipping, and you want to make sure that
That's
you
probably why they're
concerned
doing
about
it,
your
too.
you concerned about your staff not getting tipped properly, or are you concerned about just making more money? Like
Yeah.
what's the, or is it both?
It's funny, when we were in Yokohama last year, I had to prep Robin that tipping is considered an insult over there, because if you tip someone, you're trying to, basically what you're telling them is that you feel that they don't work hard enough to basically, and you need to bribe them to do so. So it's actually considered a shot to their giddy on that. And
It's the same in Europe.
Yeah, Europe. I think Europe might have a couple of tipping cultures, but probably nothing like it is here.
No, it's definitely not like the United States.
It's not like in the United States. No,
Yeah.
it's definitely not.
But
A lot of places in Europe they don't even.
Well, Latin America, I think they tip. Latin America is
probably not like the option of up like 50% on the, and then the people behind the counter look at you like.
I mean, I've been all throughout Europe. I've been all throughout Europe, and I've there's been times where I've tipped, and they kind of look at you like, like, what? Why am I taking this? So.
But yeah, so like I said, that's another thing that's annoying. Like I said, my TikTok is great for like talking about World Cup right now. It really is. So, but
I don't know. It just feels like this is the World Cup, and then they spat on everyone's face. Everyone that's really excited, like the people that genuinely love the sport, is just they essentially told us to go fuck ourselves, and they just want corporate big people with money to come to the games, and it's the same with basketball, playoff basketball, especially like the Knicks, where it's like they're all concerned about celebrity row and courtside seats, and and the people that genuinely like the sport can't even come to the game to support their team. So it's unfortunate it's trickled into the World Cup, and I think FIFA know what they're doing. They know that they know this is the only country in the world that they can get away with it.
Yeah,
every other country, there's no way in hell people could still come to the game at the prices that they're asking for.
My TikTok is made up of a lot of international. Boy, do I get a lot of comments on that. Europe, especially, and holy hell, it's great. So it's been kind of fun, honestly, listening to the banter on that. Now I got one more thing on World Cup before we move on to like MLS and maybe a couple other things as well. I'm not sure if you heard about that. You probably did hear about this at this point, but for the first time ever, World Cup is going to have a halftime show for its final. Aren't we excited? We've got Madonna, we got Shakira, and we got BTS.
Yeah, I'm definitely BTS. Fuck no, I'm definitely not watching.
Now obviously, I'm not big into K-pop. I've always been more of a J-pop fan ever since the 90s. Shakira, good choice, I think, personally, from the Latin side of it. Madonna, is she still around? That woman's got to be like 70. She's got to be like Martha Stewart's age.
I mean, this is just right here is it's just Americanizing the sport. You know what I mean? This is not American football. This is World Cup, and it's just it's kind of, I don't know. I look at it as it's kind of like a slap in the face to the game.
Been a lot of complaints on that from the international stage too.
Yeah,
also, because it means the halftime show or the halftime is going to be longer.
Right, and now the players don't like that.
Yeah, they don't.
Especially in soccer, you don't want to be, you don't want to be, too long in the and then having come back and having lag and just like I said, they're Americanizing this.
Yeah. By the way, Madonna's 67 years old. I just want to point that out. I want to look it up. Dude. So, anyway, that covers that. All right. So, anything else before we move on to other things, gentlemen?
I don't care about the halftime show. Just leave the sport the way it is. If Argentina's in the final, I can guarantee you I won't give a rat's ass about Shakira shaking some ass at halftime. I just want to see if Messi could do it again.
Fair enough. But, well, in this case, the question is...
Here's my question. Here's my question real quick before we move on. Is a lot of these, like SoFi and a lot of the NRG, they're using, this they're bringing in the grass and they're doing the specialized outdoor sod farms. How are those going to hold up?
They're probably going to get torn to shreds.
Yeah,
but I think it's still a better alternative than
Yeah.
well, FIFA requires their requirements are grass.
Yeah.
A lot of these.
What they're doing this year, compared to last year at the Club World Cup, is they're actually taking away the turf from the NFL stadiums completely out of the stadium, and then they're just going to lay in the natural grass.
Yeah.
So then that way they don't have to worry about an extra surface beneath the playing surface, and you prevent some injuries that way. So, granted, injuries are still going to happen regardless because you're moving around and you risk injury. When you run at an intense speed and play sport like soccer where you move around a lot. But I think the grass will hold up a little bit better, but it's definitely going to be torn to shreds because depending on how many games you play and how long like the layoff is in between games, it's still going to get ripped up pretty bad. So, but I would assume it's going to hold up a lot better than last year.
Well, I know in SoFi they were saying that they have what's called a subsurface system. It's a sand layer over the regular NFL field, and they said that's going to help to kind of minimize it's going to make it give, I guess, a little bit better. So, and they said that they have like grass that's transported in like refrigerated trucks, so. I thought that was pretty neat how they have like a sand layer over the regular NFL field, and then they're laying the sod down over that. So,
well, what they had to do, when I was at the Premier League Summer Series last year, and it was with Man United. I'm trying to remember who else was there. But David Moyes,
Bournemouth was there, I believe.
Bournemouth. That's right. Yeah, Bournemouth.
Everton, I think, as well.
Everton, and I think Arsenal was there too. But David
Arsenal's,
Moyes. David Moyes was like, this is not like Premier League grass. This is American grass was his exact phrase.
Yeah.
And I was like, oh.
Well, this isn't new. They did this in '94. I can remember when they played in the Pontiac Silverdome. They had to lay sod over that, and it held up pretty good. I was actually watching the other day. They had on the FIFA channel that game. I think it was U.S. against Switzerland in the Pontiac Silverdome, and they were talking about the sod that was over the and that was AstroTurf back then in '94. So they've done it. It's been done before. I'm sure now they're even more advanced with how they can do things with that.
Well,
so
what's going to be interesting also is the Premier League Summer Series is coming back here again. And there will be a match at MetLife Stadium immediately after World Cup. So that's pretty good shape there. But you've got, who do you have? There it is. You have Wrexham and Liverpool playing at Yankee Stadium on July 29th. Now, Yankee Stadium is basically Yankee Stadium. You got two, high-profile Premier League teams playing in what has been considered one of the worst pitches in the world right now. I have already put in for access on that because I would love to see the commentary from the players and the coaching staff on playing at Yankee Stadium with that weird pitch design, with the stands that throws everybody off, and everything else that comes with it. Oh, that's going to be gold, man. Gold.
Well, it's not like Citi Field. The only thing, Citi Field, you're closer to the field. But however, if you're on like a certain part of the stadium, you're viewing the field on a slant. So,
well, that's part of the. That's why the Orlando goalkeeper screwed up because the dimensions of the fans is different from pitch itself versus everywhere else. So it throws off your balance a little bit as far as like where your proximity is. And listen, he's got to be smarter on that. Granted, but. That mistake would not have happened at any other stadium, but it happened at Yankee Stadium.
Yeah, and it should have happened again a few weeks later.
Yes, actually, I forget who that was, but there was another issue like that.
They're actually both Canadian keepers, Crapo and St. Clair.
Yeah, that's right. Yes, but that set the tone for Orlando season there too. But in this case, it's going to be hilarious. I think to watch that too. At least the food will be good. Anyway.
Yeah.
Well, it always is.
Oh my God, Yankee Stadium. Hell yeah. So, all right. So let's move on to this one because I know both of you guys wanted to talk about this, which is why I delayed it a little bit till Tavi you got here. Arsenal. Bill, I'll let you roll with this one first because Arsenal's your team. You've proudly displayed your love for that team.
I've been an Arsenal fan for 30 years. Yeah.
So one more match, sir.
Yeah, one more. I mean, hey,
Burnley.
and Burnley's in. They're getting relegated, so you should be able to take care of business, and this should be smooth sailing. I mean, I would hope. I would hope. Strange things have happened, but I mean, right now they're heavy favorites. Obviously, they got a 2-point lead.
Yes.
With 2 games remaining. You control your own destiny right at this point in time. 22 years has been a long time since they, you got Burnley and you got Crystal Palace. So, but Burnley, I mean, Burnley's relegated. That should be a walk in the park for them. But I don't know. Stranger things would happen. This team has let me down in the last couple years. They just haven't finished strong, and I think they've got this one in the bag, though. I really do. I think they're gonna get it done.
Right now, in this case, the odds are 89% they're going to win and 8% are a draw. By the way.
All right.
So, Davi, you got anything on?
Well, I'd say they should take care of business. That doesn't mean that they, 100% will. Burnley have nothing to play for at this point. And that could
spoiler.
They could play spoiler, which is definitely can affect the game. And maybe Arsenal come in a little bit over their heads and be like, "Oh, it's just Burnley. We got this. We can kind of take your foot off the gas a little bit and still walk away with 3 points." But we've seen in the past Arsenal, in games that they're supposed to win, kind of slip up, and they have a history of doing that. And I don't think the demons will be completely exercised until you see this out.
Especially with under Arteta.
Yeah.
I mean they didn't really have a lot of these bad games, where they're playing a bad team and they either draw or they lose under Wenger. They weren't you didn't see that too often. Arteta, you've seen that a lot.
Mainly with Wenger, he takes care of the small teams, but when it comes to the big six, he just would never. It just wouldn't materialize for him.
Well, so
also obviously the big thing that's going to benefit Arsenal this weekend is also their home finale.
Yeah, but they still have to go to Crystal Palace, and I think
who's going to be playing
Crystal Palace. I think that's the game y'all have to worry about more than Burnley. I think Burnley at home, you guys should be able to take care of business. But I think Crystal Palace is definitely the team that you should be worried about.
Concerned about.
Yeah, they're the ones that they're still in Europe. They're still fighting for they're 15th place. So they're still fighting for a European trophy, and they still. But regardless, it's a London derby. So to speak, not to an extent as like a Chelsea Arsenal or Arsenal Tottenham, but it's still there. It's like friction between East London and North London. So they're definitely going to want to throw a wrench into Arsenal's plans. And in City, they definitely have the tougher fixtures and going to Bournemouth away, and then finishing out with Aston Villa at home. We've seen crazier things happen. We've seen City go down 2-0 to Aston Villa on the final day and come back and win it 3-2 within 5 minutes. We saw that a couple years ago, and Arsenal. I just say they just have a slip in them. They can slip up, and that's up to Manchester City if they can capitalize on that. And if Arsenal drop points in one of these 2 games, I think Man City are going to pounce, and those players that are on Arsenal, that have been there for some time and have been handed second place in many races, are going to feel the pressure onto them, and they crumble under the pressure when pressure is applied. So we'll just have to see if Arteta and the players can come out here and take care of business and see it out. There's 2 games left in the season. and results have gone their way. So, it's whether or not they finish this part of the season.
In Man City, I'm still puzzled as to when, a couple years ago we heard that, they got all these allegations. It was a big investigation. And according to reports, the investigation has been wrapped up. What's going to happen to them? I mean, that's, apparently they have like 108 violations is what I heard last.
It's like 115, and I think 22 of them got dropped. So there was about, I don't know, it was a handful of them got dropped, and the number went from 115 to 93. So
what's the? I mean, I just don't understand what's.
I would imagine either a transfer ban, or maybe they get fined or something like that. But they're going to get a slap on there's no way they get relegated.
No, and they don't get stripped any titles either.
No, I don't think so.
So that's.
Well, it's not quite like Calciopoli, where that one was completely different, where they had referees that would rig it in their favor, and that those titles were stripped, rightfully so.
I just know I'm an Arsenal fan. I know a lot of I know some Liverpool fans. I know some Manchester United fans. We hate Man City. Okay, we hate them. Pep Guardiola. He is a good manager, but I just can't stand him. Haaland, can't stand him. That's just me. I don't know who you support, but I hope it's not Man City.
Should I answer my? Are you asking me or are you asking him?
I'm asking, I guess, both of you guys.
I have ties to Burnley.
Okay.
We have ties as a company to Burnley, so kind of have to, for better or for worse, more the second than the first, really. But yes, hopefully, we do actually have direct. Stream Punk actually does have direct ties to Burnley right now.
Well, son of a
so
bitch.
The fact that they're getting relegated actually is in my favor, believe it or not.
they get relegated, but they beat Arsenal, so.
They get it's funny, they get relegated. Actually, my clout increases. So it's like, it's the weirdest thing on my side. I have to look at it from the business perspective.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Burnley reached out to me, I don't know, 2-3 months ago, whatever it was, and I've been working on some stuff behind the scenes for the off season, and then being relegated, some outlets are going to probably lose interest. Right. So I'll be like, okay.
So that gives you the open door to kind of swoop in there. Yeah.
Yep. So yeah, like I said, that's weirdly enough for certain teams like that or worldwide that get relegated. Yokohama FC, for example, not the F Marinos, they hang on by a thread, but FC, it's like they need people go after the ones that move up the chain. I'd rather work on the ones that go down.
Yeah.
So, but so Arsenal, they can't clinch it this weekend, I don't think, but actually, well, they can't clinch it with that match. But they can clinch it after 37.
If results go their way, they can clinch.
Yeah, but they can't clinch. They can't clinch this weekend, though.
I think they would need Man City to lose, and then they would clinch, and they would have to. I think that's the only way.
It's not happening the day that they're playing Burnley.
Yeah, next Tuesday, Bournemouth. I think they're just Bournemouth and Aston Villa. They already played their game in hand, which is Crystal Palace.
But presuming the fact that obviously Arsenal beats Burnley, beats Burnley, the pressure's clearly going to be on.
Well, I don't know. I mean, Burnley gave Aston Villa a good game last time out, and again, they have nothing to play for. So,
right.
Never say never that they couldn't beat Arsenal or hold them to a draw.
If you're Arteta, you're in that locker room. You're just saying, "Hey, guys, all we have to do is win the remaining fixtures, and the title's ours." Yep.
They're in the driver's seat, and they know that.
Yeah.
But again, and I don't think. Here's the thing: I don't think Arsenal is going to be overconfident now, knowing that there's so much pressure on the line in this case. Because you said 22 years, so that carries in every single second on that pitch.
They had pressure though last year. They had pressure in 2024. And they weren't able to get it done. So,
which is why I think they're going to be smarter this time around.
I hope so.
I know you do.
Yeah, I'm hoping.
So, all right. So one big talk left. Got it. the question in this case here is Nico Fernandez Mercado on his way out of NYCFC during the World Cup break, including him in this case here, possibly Hugo Kuipers, and a few of the other players that are out there, Sam Surridge, during that World Cup break. Right now, Nico has 9 goals on the season, has clearly fit in very, very well in replacing Alonso Martinez. And there have been numbers as high as $25 million US, which is a big chunk of change on this one. So my question in this case, because we have such a unique situation with World Cup and everything like this, a lot of teams might have some degree of interest during the World Cup, basically during transfer window and everything like that, to say, let's take a look. Could Nico be on his way out? Could Sam Surridge be on his way out? Kuiper, there's a few different players out there that my question is, Musa, are they going to be gone?
I think Musa has a higher chance. I think that he has the highest chance of anybody that you just named going at MLS. I had word saying that NYCFC are not interested in selling Nico Fernandez Mercado at the moment.
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah, I think if they were to sell him, I think they'd wait till next summer. So they could splash that money that they make from Fernandez Mercado, going into the new stadium. Regarding signings, incoming players, don't expect anything fancy until next summer. I can confirm that.
It's been pretty quiet so far. I forgot
Yeah.
you existed until just now.
I mean, to be fair, we're still in the middle of the first half of the season, and
True.
we want to finish out strong. So, So from my source and from what I'm hearing, don't expect anything big until next summer.
Fair. Right now, like I said, Nico's got 9 goals in 13 matches. Kuipers has 12 goals in 9. That is insane. And an assist on top of it, too. So 13 goal contributions. Messi, he's not going anywhere. But, I mean, when you look at this right now, I'm curious in this case. And this is the problem with Major League Soccer, is it is very much a AAA league to the worldwide stage. So you have to accept that a lot of players end up, maybe on the way out if they do too well.
Yeah, but what about the players that might be attracted to the MLS too?
There's been an increasing number on that one as well.
And there's been some surprising names on that list to the point where you're just like, really? Like him? He's going to come to the MLS?
Robert Lewandowski. I mean, I think Chicago
Yeah.
Fire is offering, him a big contract, and he's going on a free with someone from Barcelona, and considering the high Polish population in Chicago, you think that'd be a pretty good fit.
Mohamed Salah, he's been linked to San Diego FC. The
Egyptian connections there with him and the owner.
I mean,
Right,
Neymar's name came up a couple of times. Even Ronaldo came up once or twice.
I still can't believe Sporting Kansas City has his rights over everybody else.
I've heard in Griezmann from Atletico Madrid.
I think that one's been confirmed. I think he's coming to Orlando after the World Cup.
Yeah.
Okay. Because I know the list initially they had LAFC as a potential landing spot for him. I don't know.
But speaking of Sporting KC, David Lee, remember him?
No, fuck that guy.
Dude, you look at that team, you look at the Philadelphia Union and everything that's going on with
good win for them last night, though.
Yeah. But I don't know. Earlier in the season when Philadelphia Union had their first win, I think Bill and I talked about this. I did say that Philadelphia is not done yet. And I don't think that. I think that one aged like milk in a lot of ways, but I don't know.
It's just surprising that they've fallen from grace that fast too,
Well, you and I had what is around week 5, week 6, I think it was Blake Arney from Sporting KC at the time too.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
He was all too happy to talk about the team, but boy, it's tough being a broadcaster for that squad right now. Holy shit!
Yeah,
I think that's the Bradley Cornell effect. I don't think Bradley Cornell's that good of a manager. I think he overachieved with with the poor Philadelphia Union squad last year, and he overachieved with with the St. Louis team that was brand new into the league, and they had no film whatsoever to against St. Louis, and then once they had a season full of film, they figured them out pretty quickly. So I think that might just be a Bradley Carnell thing, and they're rooted to the bottom of the Eastern Conference with 1 win in 13 games.
If things go the way they do you think Carnell's out after the season?
100%.
I mean, it's not entirely his fault. I mean, they just dumped that squad. Their payroll is the lowest in the MLS.
Right? I mean, but that's up to the owner. That's on the owner.
Yeah,
because he doesn't spend money on this team at all.
The owners don't fire themselves.
Unfortunately.
Yeah. Well, they had a miracle worker in Jim Curtin, and he had the players buy into his system, and then
and then they get rid of him.
Yeah, they get rid of him after one bad year.
We love Jimmy on this side, man. He was such a nice dude.
I heard he didn't get along with the front office. I heard there was a lot of friction between.
I would believe it.
Yeah,
but also in this case, because he was so. Sorry, go ahead.
No, I was just to say that's why I'm saying that their fall from grace was so quick, and just I just couldn't believe it.
Yeah.
I'm sorry.
In fact, in this case, because he was so popular with the fans and the players and the staff, it created a little bit of a jealousy effect. One of the things that I always love that Jim Curtin does, and I've never seen it anywhere else, is he would always thank the PR person that set up the Zoom call first. Thanks Erica, thanks Nico. He would always say thank you to them before he went into anything Tannenwald or Jose Nunez had to say. And I thought that was a really classy move because I don't see anybody else do that.
Well, Pascal Janssen says hello, thank you to the reporters.
He does say hello to us every time, which is kind of nice. I give him that, But you kind of have to incorporate that in. It's like, hey, it's Scott from Stream Punk Soccer. Thanks for congrats on the win.
Hi, Scott.
You wait for the line to finish and then you go. So I do dig that.
He's like, hey, Pascal, Scott Churchman from Stream Punk Soccer. He's like, oh, hi, Scott.
Every time. Just waited out. Yeah. I forgot what I asked him last night. I asked him something, but I don't remember. It all rolls together, but
I hope he steamrolls the Red Bulls on Saturday.
I asked Raul Gustavo about that, because he had the goal last time out, and they're ready for this. They needed the 2 wins that they had because that team was in just a tailspin.
They're back on track now, which is great. So that essentially that whole month of April was terrible.
And then obviously they got Columbus again for U.S. Open Cup, which is, I think, a winnable game. We'll talk about that when we get closer.
Yeah, even though we struggle playing in that stadium, this is the weakest Columbus team in 10 years. So I think they I think the fact that you just terrible. Came off a 3-0 win against them. Yeah, granted it's at home. I think you should feel confident in beating them in a knockout game.
Yeah, no Cucho, no Wilfred Nancy.
Yeah.
Well, Wilfred's experiment going.
Yeah, no Ali either. So.
Yeah. Even Robin and I were talking about that the other day. She's like, what happened to that team? It's like, I know, I'd miss Multi Amundsen. Poor guy, won an MLS Cup, and now he's stuck with that team. But I think, we'll talk about that as we get closer. But I think that's a big one for NYCFC because it's a great chance for them to get further, I think, than they've ever been before in the U.S. Open Cup. It's a winnable game, but in a tight schedule.
They beat Columbus. And they get into the semis. That's the furthest they've made it to the tournament.
Yeah,
and I do believe they host the semifinal as well.
So keep an eye on that going forward. Preferably Yankee Stadium, but we'll find out. It'll probably be Red Bull Arena. So, all right. I got nothing else. I'm not sure if you guys do.
No, I mean,
I hope we beat the Red Bulls. That's all I want.
History, ironically enough, has been showing that of late with how they've done at RBA of late, and the fan turnout, the supporter section has always been really, really strong on that. And sometimes a little verbal at that while we're at it. But I don't know. Right now, you got 2 teams that are really neck and neck. It's going to be very interesting because both teams know what they're playing for right now. It's a second derby match in 2.5 weeks. RBA looked pretty bad the other match, so they're going to be coming out with a desire to really show that what happened the previous match was a fluke. But yeah, I mean, I don't know if this late in the season, if they've been this neck and neck before in a derby match.
I think it's been a while. It's been a while. I think
both teams right now have 13 matches, 18 points, 5 wins, 5 losses, and 3 draws. Both of them have that, and they're 5th and 6th respectively. RBA is 3-2-1 at home. NYCFC is 2-2-1 on the road. So this is a really dead heat match. If this ends up as a draw, I would not be the least bit surprised.
No,
I think the only player that really worries me on that team is Shevchevsky Hall.
I was going to say, yeah, Julian Hall, yeah.
Other than that, we just blow him out of the water. And
man of the match. He had the hat trick the other day.
Yeah.
Yesterday.
That's crazy. That's crazy. Columbus let in a hat trick from both New York teams. So
yeah, but Hall's only 18, so he's getting eyes right now.
I hope he leaves this World Cup break. I really hope he leaves.
Might be a little too early on that one, but yeah, I see your point. You just addition by subtraction in your case. But Julian Hall is good for that team right now, and they needed that good PR too for the New Jersey Red Bulls. Sorry, I'm from Jersey. I got to call it what it is. But all right, so like I said, we'll recap on that one probably going forward. Again, one more time. Any final thoughts?
Good.
Coolios. So appreciate the time. Thank you as always. Thank you, there we go. Thank you, Mr. Bill Akins, for coming on. Thank you, Davi. I know you were working, so I appreciate you popping in when you did. I'm Scott Churchson. Thanks as always. Take care. And yeah, as always,